Okay, I'm going to show you how to fill in these two interest calculation spreadsheets, and then show you a couple of little tricks that we can use to make our life even easier. So all of this is, we're assuming that we've already investigated this idea here about investing $1,000 into a GIC that earns 10% each year. How much money will we have after 5 years? In class, we talked about the two different ways we can do that. Do it through simple interest and compound interest, and these would have been filled out for you to somewhere to get something like this. But what I'm going to do is show you how to fill in your spreadsheet so it looks like this. All right, so for the simple interest, we see that we start here. It's already done for us that it's going to be $1,000 for 10% for 5 years. So at the 0 year, we're going to call that 1,000. So the principal is going to be 1,000. So you're going to go over here and type in 1,000. And then the interest rate, we're going to ask the computer to calculate it for us, the spreadsheet to calculate it for us. So what we're going to do is when we're putting in a formula in spreadsheets, you start by pushing equals. And what we want to do is multiply the principal by 10%. So we're going to go here and go principal. So we just click on it and you see it goes B10. So B10 is the amount that's in there. And then you're going to push times, which is the star button, or shift 8. And then 10% we translate to 0.10. It gives you a preview of what the answer is going to be, which is 100, which is good. So I'll push enter and you see that we get 100. So that calculation takes the principal, multiplies by 10%, and tells us how much interest we get in a year. Now we're going to add this interest to the previous year's balance and put the answer in here. So again, we're going to make it a formula. So that means we have to start with equals. And we're going to take the previous year's balance, which is up here at 1,000. So that's, again, click on it, D9, plus the interest that we just earned right there in C10, and push enter. So you see that's $1,100, and you see that our graph is starting to go up. And then we're going to repeat this. So again, the principal, because it's simple interest, the principal stays the same, and our interest is only calculated on the initial investment. So this part's not going to change, so it's going to be 1,000 again. Okay, and again, we can make that calculation equals B11, and you see it's actually predicting what I want to do, and it's right, a times 0.10, and I'm doing the calculation again. And then again, I'm going to take the previous year's balance, add it to this year's interest. So again, I'll push equals, and you can see it's predicting that I'm going to do D10, which is D10, the previous year's balance, plus this year's interest. So yep, that's exactly what I want to do. This is the best part about these spreadsheets, is they're very predictable, or sorry, they do a very good job of predicting what you're doing. And so we could repeat this. Now, because this is a spreadsheet, we don't need to keep typing this in every time. We can actually copy in this whole formula down. So I want these three things to copy for year 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to highlight these three. And when I do that, you see this little square pops up. And if you go over and highlight that square, then it's going to drag it down to the end of the 5 years, and it automatically copies the formula down and adjusts it for all of the different years. So you see down here, if I clicked on it, you would see it says D13 plus C14. So D13 plus C14 is exactly what I wanted. And now this is exactly like the chart that we made up together in class. Okay, let's head over to compound interest. So the compound interest, again, we're going to start with the 1,000. So we'll start with the 1,000. So I'm going to type in 1,000 here. And the annual interest rate is the same calculation. So we're still going to go equals this times 0.10, enter, and we get that 100. And then this is going to be the same thing. We take the previous year's balance, and then we'll add this year's interest. So we're going to go equals the previous year's balance, which is this, plus this year's interest, I9 plus H10, push enter, and we get this. And of course, after the first year, these two are going to be the same. Now, what's different in compound interest is we're not going to do 1,000 anymore. We're going to take the previous year's one and calculate interest on this balance here. Simple interest only calculates interest on the initial investment. Here, it's compounded annually. That means every year it looks at what the balance is at the end of the year and does the interest on that. So I don't want to have to type in 1,100. I'm going to be smart about this and say, I want the amount that's here to become my new principal and interest. So I'm going to go into this and push equals again, and I want it to equal this actual cell. I want that exact cell to come across. Push enter, and you'll see that it's 1,100 then gets copied from here over here. This formula is going to be the same. It's going to be equals the principal and interest times 0.10 for 10%. And now you see I'm making $110 instead of 100 because I'm getting $10 more of interest from the interest I earned last year. Okay, our balance is still going to be the same. Take the previous year balance, so equals for an equation. And look, it's predicting I-10, which is right, I-10 plus H11. Yes, it predicted it correctly. That's what I wanted. And now I'm up to $1,210. So again, I'm going to highlight these three right here and pull the corner down to 5 years. And then you see that each of these then takes the previous year's balance, calculates the interest, adds this new interest on here. And because it's compounded annually, every year you're making a little bit more interest because you're earning a bit more interest. All right, and then if we just scroll back here to see what the difference is, we can see then that the simple interest is a linear function because it goes up by 1,100. Goes up by the same each amount, and so it grows in a linear fashion, which is fine. But when compared it to the compound interest, this is non-linear. You see how much it goes up by is changing all the time, and it gets this grade 10 curve. Actually, this is a grade 11 curve, and you can see that we actually earn more. And if I actually do the subtraction here, $1,610.51 minus the 1,500, the difference just by choosing a program that's compounded annually, I earn $1,110.51. And then if we go back and look at what we did together in class, you'll see that that is the same as what we got together in class. And we can see that linear relationship, and we just have the spreadsheet to then do it for us. So that's the basics here on how we can use formulas in a spreadsheet to do some calculations for us. Now, if you are satisfied with that, you can skip right to the final 2 spreadsheet, and this is the ultimate one. But I'm going to show you, if you're interested, a couple of little tricks to make our life even easier than what we did here and allow us for some more flexibility. So let's go over to S versus C. So this is simple versus compound interest new. And it looks exactly the same as what we did, except I'm going to show you one key difference. If I go up here and change my principal, let's say I change it to 2,500, you'll see that parts of the stuff changes down here, which is great. If I go back to my original and I change this to 2,500, it doesn't change because I haven't linked these together. Okay, so what did I do differently in this spreadsheet to get it to change every time I change the principal up here? You see that things changing, the graph is changing. So the difference is how I started. Okay, this looks like just the regular number that I had here. You see I just typed in 1,000 and 1,000, and the beginning was 1,000. But instead, in this one, if you look at what I have here, instead of me making it 1,000, I'm going to say, hey, spreadsheet, go and check out C3. Okay, so let's just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're going to go check out C3. Where's C3? Well, C3 is this principal. So what it's doing is instead of just taking the number that you typed in, it's going to take the value that's in here. So if I change this, it automatically updates my spreadsheet. Okay, so this now is one way to make it easier, C3. Okay, and then you see all the other calculations are changing. I wonder what would happen if I change the interest rate. So let's say I only got 8%. Well, unfortunately, my interest didn't change. Let's put that back to 10%. See, that didn't change. And the reason is I haven't linked this spreadsheet to this new interest rate. 6%. No, it's not there. So let's go back here. We'll change it back to the 10%, and we will adjust these formulas to look for this interest rate instead of the calculation. So you see here, remember, to get this number, we took this value, B10, and we multiplied it by the decimal for 10%, 0.10. Well, instead of doing that, I'm going to ask it to multiply by whatever number is up here. So let's do that. So we're going to go here and change this. And instead of multiplying it by 0.10, we're just going to click on the percentage. And because it's a percentage, it will actually do the math for us and change it to a decimal. So now I'm going to take B10 and multiply it by the decimal for 10%. It will do that for us automatically. So if I push enter right now, you'll see I get the 250, which is correct. But watch, if I change this to 8%, you'll see that that changes. Now, it's changed it only for the first one because that's the only one that I changed myself. So let's go back and put it to, no, leave it as 8% so we can see the change. So you would think that I would be able to just take this formula and copy it down and it'll change all the formulas. But watch what happens. Whoa, something's really, really wrong with my formula, especially down when I get to the end here. There's an error multiplying by something that's really messed up. So what happened? Well, the unique part about that copy down feature is it takes this and automatically assumes that you're going to choose the cell below it. So what it did was in the next column, it said, take B11 and multiply it by C5. Oh, wait, C5 is not what I want. I want it to be C4. And then the next one, it does C6 and 7 and 8. And that's where I get to a problem. C8 isn't even a number. And that's why it's getting this problem. So I have to do one last adjustment to my formula. So I'm going to go back to my original one. C4 is correct. But I wanted to always look for C4. Always look for C4. Regardless if I copy it down, I want to stay C4. To do that, I need to put this little code in here. You're going to put a $sign in front of the C and a $sign in front of the 4. Okay, the $sign actually has nothing to do with money. It's just a way of telling the spreadsheet, if you copy down, the $sign says keep the C and the $sign says keep the 4. So this is going to be my new formula, $sign C, $sign 4. So you'll see it still gets the 200 that I wanted, but if I copy this down now, okay, you'll see the simple interest gets changed all the way down. And if we look at this formula, you see it's still C4, C4, C4. So those $signs, the B10 changes, B11, B12, B13, but the $sign has not changed, which is what I want because I want to always look here. And then again, if I go back and put this to 10%, then it'll update all of the math for us. Okay. Now, of course, we've made that change here. We'll have to make it the change over here. So change this to $sign C, $sign 4. So always look for the answer here, the percentage in C4. So push enter. Again, I will copy it down, and because I've done the $sign, it will fix all of them. And now if I change the interest to 8%, it will automatically update both interests here and here. Okay. 2%, you'll see it changes all of the interest. And it even updates the graph. So if we go to 125, 2%, you can see it doesn't make much difference. You only earn $10 more. But if we go to 12%, you can see that you make a big difference in how much you earn compounded versus simple interest. Okay. So that's just another little bit of learning about Spreadsheet. If you follow that and are able to mess around with yours, you can fix your C new if you'd like. If not, you don't have to adjust that. You can go to C versus S final, and it's all done for you. Okay, so this one's already done. So if I change this to 12% or back to 10%, it does all the math that we've already done for us. Okay, and you can change the balance to $250 at 12%, and you see it's all changed for us. This is always doing it for 5 years. So I'm just going to put this back to 1,000, back to 10%, like my original question. So this is all just for 5 years. But if you'd like to go to, oh no, sorry, this I can actually change. I think I've updated this one. So if I want to go 10 years, it'll automatically change this to 10 years. So this is another thing that I've added. It's not done in this one. This one doesn't happen. If I change it to 10, it doesn't know the difference. But here I've updated a whole bunch of other codes. Now this one's much harder. If you look at the code here, you can see some if-then statements, so you don't need to worry about that. But this one does like 25 years, and I can see the difference. And wow, look at after 25 years, we get $7,000 more in interest just by doing compound versus simple interest. Okay, and then the S versus C final. This is when you're comparing the same principal and the same interest, just simple versus compound. But you might also want to compare two different like bank accounts. So we could go keep this one at 1,000 at 10% for 5 years, and then let's change this to 9,500 at 10% compounded. The same thing. So look here, actually, let's go. Yeah, so here I did $1,000 simple interest and I get 1,500. Here, this was less money for the same interest and the same number of years. And look, I still make more money for compound interest. That's how powerful compound interest is. I needed less money to make more interest. That's just how compound interest works. Now, if I get down to like 700, I'm going to obviously not make as much money, but 950 at 10% would be something like that. And then you can mess around with other things, change the interest rate here. What if I change this to 9.5%? Oh my goodness, look at that, $950. So that's less money at less interest rate is almost exactly the same as 1,000 at 10%. That's how powerful compound interest is. Okay, so you can use either of these, SC final, S versus C final, or S versus C final 2, to go off and do some comparison of simple versus compound interest.